Who is Benjamin Netanyahu and who is John Sullivan? How are they both related? And why do they share the same social security number inside of the United States? We know that Benjamin Netanyahu is the Prime Minister of Israel, the longest serving Prime Minister of the State of Israel, who is a wanted war criminal as well. And he is conducting one of the most barbaric genocides in history. We also know that his dad, Ben-Zion Milikovsky, changed his name previously from Milikowski to Netanyahu. So we have already a name change here by his father. And now Benjamin Netanyahu is Benjamin Netanyahu, but there is something deeper than that. There's been an article published approximately 30 years ago, just 29 years ago, in the Washington Report on Middle East Affairs. This article was talking about none other than Benjamin Netanyahu, calling the article "Spook, Terrorist, or Criminal: America's Mysterious Files on Benjamin Netanyahu." Now, in this article, they're talking about the fact that Benjamin Netanyahu has dual citizenship. He can't say he has dual citizenship. Now he officially said that he got rid of his American citizenship because a dual national cannot be a prime minister in Israel, but we'll get to that in a second. Look at what they stated here. Netanyahu lived both in Israel and the US, first grade in Israel, second, third in the US, fourth through eighth in Jerusalem, high school in suburban Philadelphia, military service in Israel, BA and MA at MIT. He held dual citizenship, which enabled him to travel freely between both countries, study in the US, receive federal loans to cover his education costs at MIT, and work legally. Like every US citizen, Netanyahu has a social security number, a credit account, and numerous other files in his name. Nevertheless, Netanyahu's files differ from those of most US citizens. Why? Because the Israeli weekly Ha'ir at the time reported that 4 requests for credit approval appear in US Social Security file number 020364537. Now, I went and checked if 2 people can share a Social Security number in the US, and that didn't turn to be the case. 1 person, 1 Social Security number. 2 people can't share a Social Security number. They continued here. Under each request, one finds a different name. This is where things get interesting. Benjamin Netanyahu, Benjamin Nitai, John J. Sullivan, and John J. Sullivan Jr. 1 man, 4 names. Okay. Benjamin Netanyahu is the name of the current prime minister, of course, given at birth, and which he uses. In June 1973, during his studies at MIT, Netanyahu submitted a petition to the Boston court asking to change his name from Netanyahu to Nitai. Why? Because he prefers the shorter name. He wrote on that request form. The petition was approved. Thus, the second name has an explanation, but the last 2 names, they don't have an explanation. And also, the address attached to these names somewhere in Malibu, California, does not exist. Who then is John J. Sullivan? Biranit Gorin and Einat Berkovich from Ha'ir tried to find out. They looked into Netanyahu's credit account. This file is supposed to hold information regarding bank accounts, loans, credit cards, and so forth. Yet, surprisingly, the file was empty. It is as if Netanyahu never had a debt, never taken a loan, and always paid his bill upfront and in cash. Why? Goren and Berkovich then attempted to examine Netanyahu's social security file, but were denied access by the US authorities. They did, however, find out that Netanyahu's file has a different classification than most. Different classification than most people. They were denied access not merely due to the 1974 Privacy Act, but because he had the file as confidential. File had confidential classification. Gori and Berkovich have explained that such a classification only applies to 5 categories of people. Those who work for one of the 3 federal agencies, FBI, CIA, and IRS, or those who are considered to be terrorists or criminals. Since it is unlikely that Netanyahu fits the latter 2 categories, well, according to the article, he is now a wanted war criminal. This was in 1996. He's a wanted war criminal, and he's a terrorist leading a country. Or that he worked for the IRS. They're questioning that at the time. It appears that he was on the payroll of a security agency, the CIA or FBI. Was Benjamin Netanyahu a double agent? I mean, I read articles over a year ago when Benjamin Netanyahu was going ahead with this genocide and how much damage he was causing to Israel. Some very well-known names in the Israeli media started to raise questions. Is Benjamin Netanyahu planted there to cause the destruction of the state of Israel? Dual citizenship, they continued, and this is something very interesting too. According to Israeli law, a person who runs for the Knesset in Israeli parliament cannot hold dual citizenship. Netanyahu claims that in 1982 he gave up his US citizenship, but he is unwilling to grant the press access to his file located in the US Embassy in Tel Aviv, the file which holds the information regarding his citizenship. Okay, if you do not have American citizenship, then why do you not grant the people access to the file? Interestingly, the status of his files in the US has not changed. So according to US law, Netanyahu remains a US citizen. Wow. So we have a person who has been misleading his own country by being an American and an Israeli, doing all of this, changing names multiple times, saying or having some sort of links to John J. Sullivan, or we don't know if he is John J. Sullivan and acting like he's Netanyahu. I mean, there is a history about his father there and the fact that he is the son of Ben-Zion Milikovsky. But hey, everything is possible nowadays, especially with the fact that you can't find any details about this John J. Sullivan guy or John J. Sullivan Jr. That is unless the United States protected Netanyahu. He was indeed a tool coming from the United States, and they indeed protected him with different names so that, well, Benjamin Netanyahu can do what he wants to do. However, this whole article, by the way, that I came across raises even more questions than answers. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. I hope you enjoyed this video.